Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Today on the show, I'm joined by Joëlle Gewolb. She's a stand-up comedian in Paris. We learn all about what it takes to do stand-up comedy in the City of Light. So welcome to the show, Joëlle.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I had the pleasure of watching you and a bunch of other comedians the other night, and I thought I need to interview this woman. This will be great. I haven't interviewed a comedian here in Paris yet, so we're so excited to share your story.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be on it.
So you're originally from London, but you've been in Paris for far too long. What has kept you here?
I think, honestly, I came here at 19. I'm 43 now, so if you do the maths, I've been here almost 24 years. In Paris, I probably should have gone somewhere else, but it does get quite small after a while. But I think a better quality of life, a much better quality of life here in France. Better social security system. I did my education here. I was able to do my bachelor's and my master's here for free. So just a better quality of life, more affordable.
Yeah, they take care of the people. I mean, we pay for it through taxes, but they take care of us. Yeah. And do you remember the moment when you decided to try stand-up?
Yeah, I mean, it was much later. So I actually started stand-up comedy at 36. So, a full 16 years after being here. It's something I'd always wanted to do. As a British person, stand-up comedy is sort of very central part, and even humor in itself, it's a very central part of our sort of day-to-day interactions. And I wanted to do it, but in my naive mind, I thought stand-up comedians just literally went on stage and just spouted prose naturally. I did not realize there was sort of a text behind it, that there was, years of work. And so I just thought, well, I don't have that talent just to go on and be perfect. So yeah, I had to wait till I was much older to finally sort of give myself the push. And I joined a school for stand-up comedy here in France, in French, because there wasn't a school in English. And so I actually started stand-up comedy in French, not in my own language.
That sounds even more difficult. I feel like French humor is very different from English humor.
Oh my God, totally. There's a lot more word games, a lot more hidden sense, like hidden meanings to things. And also I feel like in English, I actually, when I started doing English about 2 or 3 years after I'd started French, and when I started doing in English, I was like, oh my God, this is so much easier, because there's something about English. It's just the intonation of certain words, the stress that we put. It's just so much easier to make things funny without actually having to look for an actual joke,
What does French comedy school look like? Is it just typical paperwork textbook writing, or what does that even look like?
No, I mean, so I started in 2019, but since after COVID, the stand-up comedy scene really mushroomed here in France, and I suppose elsewhere over the world, throughout the world. And so I went to a school back then, but now there are loads of schools, so it's become really, really professional in France. But back then, the course, it was just 3 hours every Saturday, because I had a job at the time. And so at the beginning, we learnt how to perform another comedian's another comedian's set on stage, just to sort of learn how to be on stage. And then the next step was to write your own 5 minutes and then perform that. So we learned how to be on stage, have confidence, how to articulate, and then, go to the jokes.
How do you have confidence?
Personally, I'm very independent. I've sort of been looking after myself since I was about 14, 15, 16 years old. So I think that that helped. I do like to make a joke that if I did start stand-up comedy, it was sort of a way to like recognize that maybe I had a drinking problem. I think a lot of people, I mean, I don't know if you've ever had that, where you just sort of, you'll go to a party or a bar or somewhere, and someone sort of drunk will try and tell you their life story, and you're like, Jesus Christ. I was a little bit that kind of person, and it took me a long time to realize that I needed a space, like a specific safe space to be able to do what I needed to do, which was sort of tell my story in different ways.
And now you get paid to do it, which is kind of great.
Yeah, now I make a living from it. Now I'm a full-time artist paid by the state. It's called Intermittent du Spectacle. That only exists in France, Belgium, and South Korea. Would you believe?
South Korea, I had no idea. Very interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, I learned that recently. Apparently, that's why they have such a huge production of cinema and music. It's because the artists have a specific status paid for by the state.
Very cool. Thank you, K-pop. And so you describe your life as chaotic and unconventional. How did that shape your comedy voice?
I think I'm still trying to develop it. I think we all are. I know that I have a specific posture. I mean, I want to talk about, I don't want to punch down, for example. I know that a lot of comedians like to make jokes about homeless people or like crack addicts. It's not my style because they were all my friends. No, but it's like, I think having struggled a little bit, which most people don't really expect from me because I'm a tall white English woman with quite a BBC voice. I don't know. I just trying to find voices that unite people, trying to find anecdotes or examples that unite people as opposed to dividing them. Because I think we are such a divided society now. Just trying to find ways to laugh about things, but together, just sort of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we need that more than ever right now. I mean, the times are crazy, not that they ever have not been, but laughing about this stuff together is healing. And walk us through, the anatomy of a joke. Like, how do you write a joke? Are you just like living your life? You're like, that's kind of funny. Let me figure out how to like present that.
Well, again, it's like all a process, really, because I find writing jokes extremely hard. Some of my best jokes come from day-to-day interactions, experiences in life, and then I just think about it and I just transform it on stage, and then sort of clean it up as I repeat it as we go along to make it stronger. But actually, sitting down and writing jokes is quite hard for me. I've done it several times, but it's just such a lonely process writing on your own, that it is much better to have someone to bounce off. I was actually quite surprised to learn that most comics, whether it's, English speaking comics or French ones, most of them have writers behind them, especially in France. A lot of my colleagues work with several people. Now, because I'm doing it in French mostly, I don't work with anyone because I have this this pride, because I don't want people to think that I can't grasp French and that I need someone to help me.
Yeah.
So I do it mostly all by myself, which is a really laborious process. So it probably does go much faster when you have several or at least one other person working with you. But I think it's really so a set of comedy. Sort of, you have your jokes, and sort of the goal is to be able to find other subjects or other threads that you can sort of link into it and just make it longer or more efficient. It's always about sort of it's a bit Tetrisy, just sort of moving bits, reorganizing to make it the most efficient.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, I've been watching that show, Kevin Hart's trying to find the next comedian, whatever. And it's kind of interesting to see, how this works, writing jokes and presenting and trying them on the crowd and seeing, because you don't know how people are going to react. I mean, you kind of know, you've been doing it so long, but other times it's like, and I imagine like different crowds, it's different humor, even a different city is different humor.
Yeah. I think a lot of people always ask, what do you prefer, French or English? And there isn't a choice because it varies so much, as you said, from public for plays to myself. For me, stand-up comedy is like, maybe about 80% confidence and not really the jokes. Sometimes you can say the most banal things, but because you say it with a certain way or with an intonation, it's really funny. And I think as comedians, when we first start out, there is sort of a need to tell one story. This happened to me. I need to connect with you guys. But sort of as you go on further into the career, you sort of, I don't know, I think in my own personal experience, I'm starting to sort of let go of it. I want to focus more on having a good time as opposed to proving things. Do you see what I mean? Or making a point or being perhaps militant about something.
Yeah, it's just more about we're just all here together laughing and having a good time. It's not that I have to change the world with my jokes.
Yeah. I mean, if you can, not change the world, but if you can sort of like instill some kind of idea or connection with the public or people in the public, that's great. But I think it's all a process about, what are you there for? What do you really want to get across to people? And I think that is just a question that we just keep asking ourselves forever and ever and ever. It's quite hard.
Does everybody bomb in the beginning?
I think it varies. I think I'm very suspicious when people don't bomb. I think it's part of the process. It's essential. I think I always say that you really need to be used to being humiliated to do stand-up. There's something quite, I don't know how to pronounce this word in English, sadomasochist.
Yeah, I was going to say masochist.
Yeah, there's something. Well, there is, because if you're used to being humiliated, sort of, it's all right about going on stage and people just like tutting and shaking their heads at you. It's okay because you're used to it. And to be able to get back on the stage after that, there has to be something a little bit perverse.
I always say that we're kind of sadomasochistic for even living in France. I mean, people can, especially Paris, it's like, it can be brutal. People can be really mean and hypocritical. So you just kind of got to get used to laughing at yourself.
Paris can be brutal. I think it's made me a much harder person, that's for sure. But then as soon as I leave Paris and I go elsewhere in France, I'm just like greeted with love and joy and friendliness. It really, for me, it's really the phenomena of Paris and not the rest of France.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Paris is rough. And you call your style too much. So when did you stop trying to tone yourself down and fully own that?
I don't know if I have toned myself down. I don't think I've gone as far as I'd like to, actually. But I said too much because I do have a particularly different life story. I mean, I won't go into all the details now, but it is rare that I meet other people that have had sort of the situations I've had. Just to give you an example, at one point in my life, I don't know if you know those guys that sell cigarettes at the metro station, Barbès.
Oh, yeah, they're my neighbors.
Yeah, I actually lived with them in a squat, and I actually did a religious Muslim marriage with one of them.
Oh my goodness!
And we both had like quite strong addictions with various drugs. But so these are sort of things that people don't really expect from me, and I suppose sometimes they're a bit like, what? And so I chose too much because there are some things that people just really will be like, what? Like where the hell is this coming from, sort of thing, and sort of to give a feel. For a sort of punky rock and roll style. But that's all my past. I mean, obviously toning it down was toning down my life, actually, was basically finding this safe space of doing stand up on stage and accepting that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, and I think these crazy stories can make for great comedy too, because it's showing people a world that we know nothing about, and we're like, oh, this is interesting, this is funny, what is she talking about?
And just another perspective, perspective on our experiences in Paris. I don't know if you're familiar with the book called The Stone Face.
I am not. What's it about?
Oh, it's amazing. William Gardner Smith. And so it's a Black American that moved to Paris in the 60s, like lots of other Black Americans, and who found sort of, freedom and liberation in Paris as opposed to how much they were suffering in the United States. And unfortunately, they were confronted straight away with the experience of how the Algerians were living in Paris. And so there was sort of this conflict, like, oh, we were feeling good, but now we see that you guys are actually having a horrendous time, because there were detention camps, forced labor camps, or just outside of Paris for the Algerians. So I think it's really interesting to sort of learn about each people's different perspective, how Paris has helped them, but how it has also forced them to confront aspects of history that they weren't necessarily aware about. And we're all sort of like intermingled in this sort of web of history. It sounds quite pedantic what I just said, but I would recommend the book.
Yeah, no, it sounds like really interesting. I mean, there is so much dark history here, especially around the Algerian people, that people just don't know about. So it's a fascinating history that should be talked about. Yeah. And how do you decide what's funny versus what's maybe too close or raw?
I think that's the audience that kind of decides, really, because you can do a joke, and I think that's why I offer the words too much, because for some it will be too much, but for others, depending on what they've experienced or what they like, they'll really like it. I think when you go too far is when you take the audience as a sort of like a hostage. When you tell them something about your life that you haven't processed and that makes them fearful or worried for you, that is going too far for me.
So would you say comedy is like better than therapy then?
No, I do therapy. I've been doing therapy for 15 years. And I think it's selfish to use the public as therapy.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, people can tell, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, maybe you need therapy. Like, why are you here? Let's backtrack a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I recognize that you can have sad bits in a comedy special. Right, you can have bits that are a bit sad, and then you go straight to a joke, and that sort of builds the richness of your discourse. But if it's just to say this happened to me or that happened to me, and there's no joke, that's kind of unfair for the audience.
Yeah, definitely. And you perform in French and English, as you mentioned. How does your energy or personality shift between the two?
Well, the thing with doing it in French is that there's already a role that's kind of defined, because I have an accent when I speak in French. So I have to play the role of the English woman a little bit. I'm trying not to, but I do. It is the elephant in the room as soon as I take the microphone. So I have to explain why I speak this way I speak. Whereas in English, I just have this quite posh BBC accent. And so, like, I don't know. I just have to be myself. So it's more. I'm playing more of a role in French than I am in English.
And what language feels more vulnerable to perform in?
Both. It's the subjects for me, not the language.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. Sorry, maybe I'm much more vulnerable in French because I have a complex that people won't understand me, or I'll make a mistake. I'll make a masculine or feminine mistake or whatever. Sometimes people correct me in the public.
Wow.
Yeah. And I can't be like, shut up, bitch. But sometimes they correct me, and it upsets me. I haven't found a way to not be affected by that.
I mean, I think we all would be upset. You're on stage and someone's just correcting your language. It's like, that's not what this is about. But also sounds very French.
Yeah, totally.
Someone once told me, when the French correct your language, it's like someone telling you have spinach in your teeth. They think they're doing you a favor, like, so you don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me leave the spinach. Come on. Yeah. So how would you describe the English-speaking comedy scene here in Paris?
Well, I think it's really building up. You can perform or go see a show in English every night of the week in Paris, sometimes several times a week. It is very hard for people who only do it in English to build a career at this stage. The majority of us who are professional living in Paris, it's because we also do it in French, or perhaps even in another language like Spanish or Arabic. But it is building. I mean, it is really, really building. If you think the Paris scene has produced people like Paul Taylor, Sebastian Marx, who actually started the scene about 15 years ago. They're they're making their careers in French, even though they can do both now because they're so well known. But yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's getting exciting. It's getting very exciting.
And what do you think makes a Paris audience unique?
Because, well, it's a mix, really, I suppose, of sort of people that are visiting tourists, expats, and actually, thanks to Netflix, we have a lot of French people that come now who understand English. So that I think that's changed things a lot. There was I don't know what year you arrived in Paris, but when I came here in 2002, so it was the war with Iraq, and they were really anti-English, anti-American back then. So people love speaking English now.
Yeah, definitely. I came in 2012. It was like the Obama days.
Yeah.
People were like giving me free kebab and stuff. I'm like, this is nice. Now,
oh wow, yeah, better experience.
not like that now. But yeah, like you said, a lot more people speak English now and want to speak English through like TV, Netflix, video games. Like they all learn English. It's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about the Shumi Comedy Club, the history, and what it is now.
Okay, so Shumi Comedy Club, well, I'll tell you quickly about the place. It was a former cabaret called Michou. So it's a very typical thing to do in French where you turn the word backwards. So it used to be called Michou, now it's Shumi. And so it was a very famous cabaret in Montmartre. And when the owner died, it was the Paname Comedy Club and the comedian Gad Elmaleh who took over the cabaret and turned it into a comedy club. So you have shows there in French every single night of the week. And we have opened up since December an English show that takes place on Sundays, and we're just building it up. But it's very exciting. Like we had Gad Elmaleh and Jerry Seinfeld drop in a few weeks ago. And so we're really, really excited about how much is building.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's such a great venue. It's in the 18th in Montmartre. I mean, a lot of tourists are coming up here anyway. Why not have a little laugh while you're here? And it's funny, I'd always wanted to go to that cabaret because I've lived in the 18th for like 10 years now. I was like, it's too expensive. I can't go. And they're like, oh, but I'm coming now. I'm seeing comedy there. I got to see the inside finally. So it's great. It's very affordable, the shows too. It's like 15 euros.
Oh, I'm glad you say that because this is, I think it's the only ticketed show in Paris where you come and then you have the option to pay 20 and you get a drink included. And so this is because we really wanted to create a show that was professional. We're not doing open mics. There's no testing. This is really professional English-speaking comedy show where we have artists from all over the world dropping in, but also like French artists that are very well known, but who are also doing it in English, and just to have a sort of place where like you have the creme de la creme of the English scene dropping by, and to be able to enjoy a Sunday night in Montmartre. I mean, it's a very sexy place to be.
Yeah, no, it's a great spot, and the comedy is super professional. I mean, I've been to comedy shows where I'm like, I didn't have one laugh, and everybody was great. So definitely, people check it out. And you're their MC.
Yeah, I'm the MC. Panam, the comedy club, run it, but I do the MCing. And every show is different. The lineup is different, and no, we're really excited. It's very exciting.
So talk about like, since you've been doing this for so long now, were there any experiences doing a comedy show where it was just like, wow, or I can't believe this is my life, like performing in front of certain people?
I opened for Catherine Cohen in Paris. I really loved that. That was a huge achievement for me. I really enjoyed that. And she was adorable, Catherine Cohen. I also get to travel across France performing. So I'll go all over France, south, north, east, west, and sometimes my transport is covered, my accommodation, and I get my pay, and just realizing how far I've come. I started working when I was like 14 years old in London, and just to realize that now I have all this free time and this ability to be able to just be paid for my words and my stage presence is just it's mind blowing for me. I think as an English Anglo-Saxon person, where we have to start working because everything's so expensive all the time, to be able to do something where you really feel free and you're passionate about, is such a luxury in this world, I think.
Yeah, I feel like that in any city, in any country, to be able to make money with something you actually want to do on a daily basis is really special.
Yeah.
So many of our listeners are visiting Paris. Why should they swap a typical night out for a comedy show?
At Shumi, well, because it's professional, because we only have the best artists, because it's a beautiful place. We've got a lot of photos up of all the former guests that would come to the Michou Cabaret. It's a really, it's a part of history. And I just think it's just a full, all-round, lovely experience.
Is there something in Paris that you think deserves to be joked about more?
Deserves to be joked about more in Paris. That's a tough one. I think a lot of Parisians love to play the "where do you come from? Oh, you're not a real Parisian," and they're not either. They come from like Franche-Comté or Clermont-Ferrand. I think everyone's trying to be more Parisian than the other Parisians, but no one's really from here.
Yeah, that feels very like New York too, or London even. Any of these major cities, it's rare you find like a real Parisian. We're all from other places.
Exactly.
And is there a joke that always works?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of jokes that always work. I can't think of them right now. A joke that always works. Yeah, but I'm on the spot now, so I don't know.
I know. I should have given you a warning.
Because I'm trying to think which of my jokes do I want to put on air like that.
You gotta save them.
I don't know. Do you know? I have a very corny opener when I walk in, and I'm like, you can probably tell from my BBC accent that I'm British. I think the fact also joking about our alcoholism, even if it is cliche, that always works. I mean, that's just standard, talking about how we don't realize that we have a drinking problem until we sort of like leave the country.
Yeah.
That always works.
I think people can always relate to alcohol too. Everybody.
Right. Yeah.
And is there a joke that never works, but you refuse to stop doing?
I have a joke about cultural appropriation. My husband's Mexican, so like I do a thing where I like wear like a Mexican item of clothing, and I talk about how like I'm British. Obviously, it's my culture to like steal other people's culture, and that works. But then when I say to the French, I'm like, you know what I mean, guys? Like we understand each other between colonialists. Then they get really upset. But I continue to do it, and I'm like, you guys aren't that woke. Fine, I'll continue to doing it because I am. But yeah, I think that's something I like to test in the most rural parts of France.
Yeah, and then when you get more laughter, things are changing.
Yeah.
No more crickets. Yeah. And what does living a creative life in Paris mean to you right now?
Finding structure. I find it very difficult to find structure. I procrastinate a lot, and I don't do well with free time. So I need to like fill my days with appointments to like write or like do stuff that brings me inspiration, because otherwise you can just, as a comedian, just hang around doing nothing all day, waiting to go and perform in the night, and then you just feel like you're bed rotting or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just scrolling. And I feel like so many creative people struggle with confidence, which is a huge part of being a comedian. Like you said, maybe the biggest part. So do you have any advice for people that are searching for confidence?
Confidence to do stand-up comedy, or just confidence in life?
In general.
Do therapy. do therapy. Find a therapist that will help you love yourself. I think that's really the biggest challenge. I really think it depends on how you grew up, or like what your situation was, to be able to sort of learn to love yourself and trust yourself, and realize that we don't necessarily have much time on earth, and so you really have to do things that bring you joy and pleasure, and be nice to yourself and be nice to others, and that I think is really the goal. And yeah.
Or everybody can just get on stage and embarrass themselves until they don't care anymore.
No, I don't think it's for everyone. I really don't. I don't think it's for. I think really for some people it could be quite traumatizing. So
Yeah, I think it would definitely be traumatizing for most people. You have to be really brave to do what you guys do. I think most people would be terrified. Everyone's just like staring at you and just monitoring you for your words, which is it's all about you. Wow. And
it's not.
yeah.
Sorry, it's not different from teaching. I mean, if you ever taught like kids or high school, it is similar. It is similar, except for you're not meant to be serious, right?
Yeah.
But it is the same as people looking at you being like, ugh, boring. Like you are kind of used to it if you're a teacher.
Yeah, no, I never thought about it like that way. I've done teaching, but I feel like you have to entertain them in a different way. Teaching, it's like you're just reciting things that someone else already decided, like this is your own life you're sharing.
Yeah.
So talk about some of your upcoming shows, where people can connect and what you're up to.
Okay, super. Well, I've got, so I have 2 1-hour comedy shows, all right? One in French, one in English. They are basically the same shows, and they're called Too Much in French and in English. And so I perform them monthly at the moment. And the next one I'm doing in French is the 31st of May. And I'm going to be doing that in a very cool bar called La Mécanique Ondulatoire that is in Bastille. And the comedy club there is called Le Dernier Comedy Club avant la fin du monde, the last comedy club before the end of the world. And so I'll be doing that the 31st of May. The link's on my Instagram. I'll also be doing another show in a very exciting place in June, but I can't give the details yet. But yeah, come down. These are fun shows. I'll be doing a new one in English very soon. The dates are going to come up. But yeah, I love interacting with the public. I love telling them my jokes and my stories. And who knows? Maybe people will find that there's a lot of things that they also can connect with.
Definitely. And it's always fun to laugh. So check her out, guys. We'll share all of her links in the show notes. And thanks so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you. It's been such a lovely experience. Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.